Welcome, fair listeners, to Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime, a podcast where a witch, a scientist, and a salty military vet sit down once a week to discuss true crime and gossip about a bunch of bullshit. Hello, ladies. You look lovely.
Well, thanks. You look gorgeous as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
In my hand.
Got the vodka. Oh, wait, there it is.
Why do you always have to be like going against the grain?
It wouldn't fit in the title.
Look, it's not vodka, wine, and true crime. So maybe get in line.
Maybe you conform to me, Sonny. Miss.
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Oh,
but we're so similar. We're all so alike.
No, we're gonna be like one of those just like caught in never-ending battle, like because the powers will always like the force fields will just stay in never-ending conflict until the time. So that seems healthy, like a healthy relationship.
Yeah, it's fine. This is fine. We're fine.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Yes.
Well, so AJ, what's a fun fact about you?
So, fun fact, I can make a noise that is identical to a monkey. And this is thanks to all of the years of choral and vocal training as a young person and a singer, using those like diaphragm muscles. So like I could like probably get a very hot monkey husband at a zoo due to my
"What's up, Pa?"
Yeah, due to my vocals. So fun fact, I can sound like a monkey.
Well, now you have to do it.
Yeah, you can
okay.
Say that without.
Oh, I don't think I've had enough wine and my head fucking hurts. But okay, let's see.
I am dead.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Wow.
Oh, everyone's already stopped listening.
And they've turned us off.
You know what the true crime was?
Us starting
was
this.
That assault on
noise,
your
AJ?
ears?
That noise right there.
Honey, what's a fun fact about you?
I guess we could go with, so if you can see my background right now, or actually I'm covering it to create suspense, is if I'm having a really bad day, I will Google bats eating bananas and or other fruits because they make me really happy. So if you are having a bad day, please Google bats eating bananas and it will get significantly better.
He's so cute. He, she, I don't know, but they're so cute.
I know. And so the best one is this page called Batzilla the Bat. They're a bat sanctuary in Australia. And so you not only do you have adorable bats eating all kinds of fruit, but then you have really sweet Australian women cooing at them, and it's amazing. So recommend, go check it out.
You're Googling it right now.
Randi, what's a fun fact about you?
Fun fact about me. Fun fact, I have a massive demonic looking Little Mermaid side piece tattoo on my left side. You guys
What are we drinking? What are we drinking, ladies?
Tastes like vodka, man.
Yeah, I know. Randi already said that she has, once again ruined our tagline here, but that's fine. What
Sonny,
kind of are we? What
Tito's as per usual.
Blended with
club soda and lemon. It keeps my small figure.
Oh, your waist size is so nice.
Oh, it's so tiny. AJ, what are you drinking?
I have a migraine that is like beckoning my left eyeball to just like hang out of the socket. So
you're drinking straight Everclear?
I'm drinking some iced tea.
Release.
I've had a shot of Jose Cuervo.
Yes.
And now I have a glass of Da Vinci Pinot Grigio. Because let's do liquor, caffeine, and wine.
It seems healthy.
It's fine.
We make good choices. Yeah, that's good.
And something will work.
I know last time we were getting extra fancy. I am back to not being fancy. I am balling on a budget with my bourbon, Bullet. And I have decided to make it a little bit differently. I didn't have oranges, so I made it with lemon, and it's very refreshing. Kind
So
of like
I have a question. I don't even know what an old fashioned is. I mean, I've heard of it, but like, how do you make it? Like, what is it?
So I make mine a little more ghetto than you're supposed to, per usual, but you typically have like a couple fingers of bourbon in there. You want to do
You have a
sugar,
couple fingers in there? Couple?
just a couple fingers
couple?
in there, you know.
That's what she said.
You know.
Heyo.
Hey.
Low hanging fruit. I had
like
to.
to start with my Friday night with a couple of fingers and where it goes from there. But no, but I basically it's a couple fingers of bourbon. You're supposed to use sugar cubes, and you can put a little bit of water in there if you want to, but I use simple syrup. And then it's bitters. I like orange bitters. And usually you're going to cut the rind of an orange. You can use lemon if you want to. You kind of swoop it around the sides of the glass. You squeeze it for the essence, and then you put it in there and kind of muddle it a little bit and add an old fashioned.
Very good.
Nice.
Speaking of balling on a bourbon budget, for Sunny, I want to give a couple shout outs. So I totally forgot last week. First and foremost, the lovely Tony designed our amazing logo for the price of a dinner. So thank you to Tony and his lovely wife, Wendy. I'll see you guys later on tonight. And then we have our first Patreon donors, even though the audio was terrible.
So sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully it's better this time. I'll talk about it a little bit at the end of the podcast. So big shout out to Jose and Paul. Thank you so much. We will have perks.
We love you guys.
Yeah, love you. Thank you so much. And then my good friend Rick, he records a bunch of videos on TikTok. He gave me a bunch of really good advice and really good programs to make the audio better, to be able to get the video up and everything else. So thank you guys, truly appreciate it. Thank you to our first 2 Patreons.
We're so excited.
We will have stickers.
Yes.
For you, and you both are males or identify as males,
Yes.
and the stickers will be accidental female assassins or reverse shit sandwich.
We're working on the design.
And buckle up, buttercups, because you got
Buckle
some
up.
reverse shit coming for you today.
That's right. I have a shout out I want to give to one of my good friends, Soraya, who left one of our very first comments on our page. I heart you. I love you. Thank you for your support and for your 20 years of friendship. Much love, Soraya.
Thank you, girl. All right, you guys ready?
I think so.
I was born ready.
Buckle up,
I
buttercup.
was
Shit's
born
about to
not
get
ready.
real.
I was just born all sorts of not ready, as you can tell by my hair and my shirt.
You
All
look
sorts of
beautiful. Shut
not-
up. You're a
I
goddess.
cut my shirt. It's a little jagged, not just born not ready. Yeah.
I
You
think
are
we were all born
gorgeous.
slightly frazzled.
Yes.
Like
For
mostly
sure.
have it together, but just barely.
For example, I'm not ready because I have to pee really bad, and I am now locked in my closet and not going anywhere until we're done. So it's
Well-
okay. I'm a trained professional. I know how to get through a full bladder.
You sure? 'Cause I'm
Okay.
already gonna have to edit this.
No, I'm good. Let's go.
Okay.
I can do this. All right.
likes to
So
live
I'm going to start us
dangerously.
off with my case. And so our topic this week, ladies and gentlemen, neither, both, whatever you identify as, we love you all.
Thank you,
we-
AJ, for normalizing pronouns in 2021.
You're welcome. So this case does take place in the 80s, and there's a whole lot of binary pronouns. So that's just the time period. So that's what we're dealing with. But our theme, ladies and gentlemen, and like I said, neither, both, is witchcraft and rituals. So it's about to get dark, y'all.
Also,
I went
maybe-
into the dark arts. I went like full on Voldemort.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Hence
What
my
if we
Harry
stick
Potter
with
t-shirt.
y'all or folks? because like I feel like that encompasses absolutely everyone. Y'all that is inclusive.
I'm gonna always say y'all. I will always say y'all. That is just programmed into my vernacular. I thought that was a real word. I thought that was a real word until I left Texas.
See, I'm from South Philly, and everybody is either dude or you guys. Like, you're a dude, the door's a dude, computer's a dude. So yes, we'll work on it. Okay. I'm sorry, AJ. Go ahead with your story.
AJ, get
Okay.
dark.
All right. So witchcraft and rituals. And today I am going to be talking about La Madrina y el Padrino, which is Spanish for the Godmother and the Godfather. Okay, so we're going to start with La Madrina because she's a woman and she's pretty fucking badass in a really bad way. But okay, anyway, so La Madrina is Sarah Maria Aldrete. She was born September 6th, 1964. She's a Virgo. And she has a classification of a serial killer. So one of the very few female serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a witch in the dark arts. So a little bit of background on Sarah. She attended high school in Brownsville, Texas, while still living south of the border. She attended Texas Southmost College, where she was an honor student. I had never heard of this college. I had to Google it, and it is a thing. It's still around. You can, attend school there. She was an honor student. She was regarded by her professors. She was 6'1". She was towering and striking and beautiful and very athletic. She tall.
Stop talking about Randi like that.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Keep getting attacked
Athletic
in all these
and beautiful,
episodes. First I'm a psychopath, now I'm towering.
If the shoe fits.
I mean,
okay, I needed a gulp of alcohol to get through this case because it's dark.
Ooh.
All right, so while she was at the college and she was going back and forth from the border, so she lived in Mexico but went to school in Brownsville. So she studied physical education to become a PE teacher at Texas Southmost College. And trust, you don't want her teaching anybody. All right, so that's a little bit of background about Sarah. And then now we have El Padrino, the Godfather, who is Adolfo Costanzo. He's a Cuban-American fortune teller and religious cult leader. He introduced Sarah to witchcraft and dark magic, and he's the one who gave Sarah the nickname La Madrina,
mm-hmm.
And initiated her into his cult. So the cult itself, religiously, was a conglomeration of Santeria, Aztec warrior ritual, and Palo Mayombe, complete with blood sacrifices.
There it is.
So Santeria is a fusion, and I didn't know this. I didn't know that Catholicism was part of Santeria, but it is a fusion of Catholic practices and African folk beliefs. It emerged in Cuba during the 17th century and has been embedded into Cuban society ever since. These days, it's far more prevalent than Catholicism on the island. Santeros outnumbered Catholics 8-1.
Oh, wow.
Y'all, I have a Santeria story at some point. It could be an outside of episode thing, but it's interesting.
I think you should tell it now. Anecdote.
Okay, so I have a friend of mine who owned property and was renting to someone, and they had property management for a while until they decided to take it over themselves. And they're like, let's meet our tenant. Let's see what's going on. So they went in, and one side, it was kind of like Pinteresty, etc., whatever. They go into the second bedroom, and it's just a big hand-carved wooden table with like a ton of goblets full of, we're not sure, and plates that were half-eaten food. And so it was just kind of a, they weren't quite sure what was going on with it. But they kind of got out of there quickly because they were like, well, she pays on time, so I guess that's okay, whatever's happening there. After she moved out, they went in, and apparently Santeria involves a lot of oils, both essential and animal. And
We'll get to it.
it took 5 weeks of scraping and gutting and cleaning because there was like an inch thick of oils on every surface, on every wall, on everything, and everything smelled like rancid fat. So it was I don't have a lot on the mystical side of it, but all I know is have a good cleaning lady if you are in Santeria. That's what I learned. That was my takeaway.
Jeez, that sounds not great.
This case will back that up. Great.
Excellent. Looking forward.
Okay, so Santeria doesn't say no to anything. There's no moral compass in Santeria. It doesn't matter your preferences, what you do, and your afterlife. Like Santeria allows for all. In fact, it says, "Do what thou wilt." Like, do whatever you want. Okay, so Payo Mayombe is a dark ritual also involving human and animal remains, even grave robbing, and is practiced in extreme secrecy. Like another Afro-Caribbean religion, Santeria, thousands of Latino New Yorkers are adherents of this Santeric faith, which involves ritual dance, song, and drumming. Mutilation and pain are key.
Nope, not a fan.
Nope.
I couldn't find much on Aztec warrior ritual other than sacrifice is involved.
Yeah.
So that's all I could find. And to be fair, I didn't dig a whole lot. Anyway, so back to La Madrina y el Padrino. So we're going to talk about the timeline and talk about the Matamoros murders. Okay, so this is the timeline in which these events happen for this case. All right, so, all right, hold on, I need some more wine.
Why do you got to do this to us? We were all having a good day. Everyone was having a good day.
And I call this fun. All right, so the bodies of victims were found mutilated and sacrificed in occult rituals. They were used for blessings over drug manufacturing. So they would kidnap these people, mutilate them, sacrifice them in order to bless their drug cartel. Mm-hmm. So not only were they cult leaders, but they were also drug smugglers. And so they practiced this culture in order to bless and make sure that they were safe, make sure they were bulletproof and invisible to authority. One of the cops that finally came back or that discovered the scene of the crime says that you could smell the stench, the blood of decomposing organs. There was a big cast iron pot and there were pieces of human bodies and goats' heads with horns. And you know me, I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so at the same scene that they found these this iron pot, this cauldron, were other voodoo paraphernalia that was discovered in the so the other voodoo paraphernalia with the cast iron pot, and it was in a shack. So this cauldron is in a shack in a ranch in Mexico in the Santa Elena Ranch, which would later be called the Devil's Ranch. There was a blood-spattered altar of sacrifice, cheap rum, which why you gotta use cheap rum?
Maybe they are also balling on it. They needed a Patreon, clearly.
You couldn't go for Captain Morgan, you had to go for cheap rum on the altar. No wonder your god was fucking pissed.
What is this shit?
What is this? Okay, so there were human body parts, animal bones, chicken heads, goat heads, and lots of other unflattering things in the cauldron. Okay, so that's what police discover at the Santa Elena Ranch. And we'll circle back. So Costanzo Adolfo and Aldrete Sarah were the heads of this cult and ran the drug smuggling ring. To them, as they were sacrificing people, they were committing acts of heroism. They were protecting their smugglers, they were protecting their cult members, and And their one rule, okay, are you ready for their one rule?
Don't kill puppies.
Don't do drugs.
What? You're lying.
I'm
Gosh.
not even lying.
Oh,
They're like, don't cheat on your taxes. That's the rule. Okay,
That's
goat
the rule.
sacrifice, yes.
That's
Taxes,
the rule.
we are staying clean, y'all.
Okay.
We are staying clean.
Don't do the drugs we're dealing.
and also don't jaywalk.
Yeah, don't jaywalk. Don't do drugs.
That was a wrong
Tip,
one.
Labor
tip,
Day.
tip your server.
Tip your
Tip your
server.
server.
No, wait, after Labor Day. Good. Good list.
Oh my God. Okay, quick anecdote. I was like 7 years old. It's right before Easter. My mom took me, my brother, and my sister to eat at Taco Bell on a Sunday. So we're all dressed up for church and we're sitting outside on the patio. And this woman walks in wearing white pants. And me having the zero filter, I'm like, Mom, she's wearing white pants before Labor Day. Or like whatever the rule is. And I said it so loud that this woman like turned around and my mom was like, oh my God.
You were bougie as a kid.
She's
I was
bougie now. What has changed?
It was,
What?
yeah, it's just gotten worse with old age.
You would make that comment today. So that's
I really would.
Equally
I
as
really
loud.
would.
at
Okay,
Taco
so
Bell.
coming back to their one rule was not to do drugs. So where did they get this like idea of sacrifice would protect them? So Adolfo El Padrino was a big fan of this Hollywood movie called The Believers, starring Martin Sheen. And so here's the plot. After the death of his wife, police psychiatrist Cal Jameson moves to New York, and there he has to help in an investigation of two young people who seem to have been sacrificed during a cult ritual. Jameson believes it's been voodoo, and ignoring the warnings of his housekeeper, always trust your housekeeper, ladies and gentlemen.
Facts.
He enters the scene and soon becomes under the influence of the witchcraft, and he becomes convinced that he now must sacrifice his own son for the promise of money. So Adolfo and Sarah used this movie, The Believers, to recruit people into the cult. They believed in it so heavily that that was their foundation. That was their go-to. Very strange.
This is like Galaxy Quest, but like drugs.
Oh, I love it. I had not made that connection. I had not made that the historical document.
Historical document.
I need more wine. Okay, so
Are you taking
fast
notes?
forward to spring break 1989. Matamoros, Mexico is across from the border from Brownsville, Texas, and it's a typical border town, much like El Paso, where Sunny and Randi have both lived, where we all met and had some good times. So spring break 1989, there is a student from UT who made their way down across the border, and his name was Mark Kilroy. Very good looking Anglo pre-med junior at the University of Texas of Austin.
Is he available is my question.
Totes for sure not.
AJ?
No.
AJ, can you see? Is this someone that you can see or somebody that?
This is
Sunny's
someone that
already
I can see.
Oh, okay.
This is someone that I can see in my sleeping state. He is no longer with us. He has shuffled loose the mortal coil.
Back to the drawing board. Oops, dashed.
Okay. Yeah, so he's white. There's no other way to put this. And that's really where this case breaks, is because of this Anglo kid from UT. All right. So prior to Mark, there had been many disappearances. But unlike the others who had disappeared, Kilroy was Anglo and had connections. And his uncle was employed by the U.S. Customs Service. His parents were very powerful, his family. And they had offered up a $15,000 reward for his for any information leading to his discovery. Once Mark Kilroy's disappearance broke in the news, Adolfo and Sarah freaked out. So they see this missing student on the news and they flee. They flee the Santa Elena ranch, the Devil's Ranch, and they go on the run. They go on the run with Adolfo. Adolfo has two male lovers. One he calls his husband, one he calls his wife, and then another gunman.
So at least they're inclusive.
Well, every
I agree.
relationship needs the person, husband, wife, and a gunman, as far as I'm concerned.
He's got his bases covered. He's got the witch, the wife, the husband, and a strong man. I mean, he's ready.
Typical nuclear family.
Okay. There's a lot of pressure put on the Mexican Authority, and so they start putting up like roadblocks and excuse me, I had to burp. And
always
they finally they detain a low lackey drug dealer that was part of the cult, and his last name is Seraphine. He was very relaxed. He was like, nobody can touch me, like, you're not going to get me. Well, they eventually get him to talk, and Seraphine leads them to the Santa Elena ranch. There, they get to a groundskeeper by the last name of Hernandez, and he was questioned, and Hernandez like gives up the ghost, pun intended, quite rapidly. Like, he's like, oh, okay, here's the secret graveyard, and by the way, there's like the witch shack over there, and like, I didn't do
this
it.
This is the snow cone machine. There's just
I want a witch
Would you like
shack?
some popcorn? Yeah, so it's this Hernandez gives up everything. So he points them to the private graveyard, and they start to unearth 12 bodies that are buried in a very tidy row. All of the victims were men. One of the bodies was Mark Kilroy. His skull had been split open. His brain was missing. And so I told you we'd come back to the brains. So his brain was missing. Detectives entered the shed and found the cast iron pot called a nanga in Santeria. Nanga. I don't know if I'm saying that right. A nanga. So they found in the nanga Mark Kilroy's brain, and other body parts were so there were other body parts in the nanga. There were also spiders, scorpions, and things that couldn't even be identified. So police knew they were looking for very dangerous people at this point, and they knew that they would have a lot of money. So police would return to the ranch. So they leave everything as it is. Then they come back a few days later with a whole news crew, and they come with what I would call like a shaman. A person who could give blessings, not necessarily a priest, but somebody who was of that practice. So with the news crew, they're filming, and this is the only person who is now brave enough to like enter the shack and take care of the paraphernalia. So he does a salt blessing on the shack. He kicks over the cauldron, and he sets the shack and the cauldron on fire, all while being filmed by the news.
So like getting rid of evidence?
Not necessarily. We would see it that way, as, you know, from our evidentiary side, but from their perspective, they knew that this was a symbol of El Padrino and La Madrina's power. And so they knew that by destroying it, it would destroy their psyche.
Okay.
So it was a psychological warfare to them.
I see.
But up until this point, like, Adolfo and Sarah had been feeding the cauldron to keep themselves and their cult and their drug smuggling ring safe. as long as the Nanga had been fed, everybody would be safe.
Mm-hmm.
They made mountains of money. They took over the Hernandez drug cartel. They were very successful at what they did while they were practicing their witchcraft and while they were practicing in their cult. However, so this is all on the news, and Adolfo and Sarah have made a run for it. But they see what is happening on the news, and they see the cauldron being destroyed. And Adolfo, El Padrino, he fucking loses his shit. He's like, that's it. Like, we're going to be caught. Everything is over.
That's so fascinating. Like,
And
just power of the mind.
Yeah.
and okay, so what's kind of funny to me is like he's been selling himself as this fortune teller and this psychic. He's been selling his services to other drug cartels that he could like see the future, he could bless them, he could make sacrifices. If he sacrificed like a goat, it would cost other drug dealers like $13,000, and then they would be protected. So it was a business. He had a whole enterprise going on. But he really and truly, this was his belief system. And I didn't include it in here, but his mother was also a practicing witch, and she had him blessed at the age of 5 by a Santerian priest. And he had grown up with this belief, grown up with this religion, and that this was his foundation. So when he sees this cauldron being destroyed, and Sarah sees this cauldron being destroyed, they know that like the game is over. So the shaman, who is the one brave enough to destroy the structure, he sets it on fire. He destroys the Nanga. The ceremony was broadcasted, and they see everything. So Aldolfo, at this point, they are held up, and he makes the quote like, "They'll never take me." So 3 days later, they settle into their very final hideout, which was an apartment house in Rio Sena in Mexico City. Aldrete, Sarah, fearing for her life, which like fucking typical.
Yeah.
She writes a note, like basically like our day of like Twitter, like she tweets, she like writes this little fucking note. She throws it out the window, like, "Help, I'm being held prisoner, like come and save me."
Oh,
And
poor baby.
somebody actually picks it up and is like, "This is a joke," and so they don't take it seriously. Well, eventually police discover their hideout and they surround the group, guns blazing, everything. And Aldrete, Sarah, was in the apartment with Aldolfo and his 2 lovers. And the gunman was named El Derby. And I know his name was listed, but I don't honestly remember it. I know.
I'm sorry.
El bowling pin.
El Derby. El Doobie.
El Pinewood Derby.
El Doobie, don't do the drugs, El Doobie. But I don't remember it, and I didn't really care to look it up. I don't care that much.
I really want all of them to have like where it starts with L or La, and then just like L bowling pin, La eyelash curler. You're like, what? I'm sorry, please continue.
Okay. So Adolfo El Padrino, El eyelash curler, starts throwing wads of cash like out the window, and he's like screaming, "They'll never take me." Of course, this is in Spanish, and I'm not even gonna try, but that's what he's screaming.
El, they'll never take me.
El, don't ever take me. Don't take me. So he orders El Derby. He orders El Derby to shoot him with the Uzi that he has like kept by him. And Elderby's like, no, I'm not going to shoot you. And he's like, you're going to shoot me. So Elderby finally shoots him and one of his lovers. And I don't know which one. I don't know which one. So he takes the Uzi, he shoots El Padrino and one of his lovers. They're discovered hunched over each other in the closet of the apartment house. And they're like wearing like beach shorts, like they're like ready to go like out on the town, like hang out. But so Elderby shoots these two, but Sarah is left alive and the other lover. So Sarah Eldubi, and I think his name is like Aurelia. I think I'm saying that okay, probably not. They were arrested and taken into custody. So Elderby would later say in custody, like he was like totally chill. He was like, "What's up, guys? How's it going?" He would say that like the Godfather will be back, like El Padrino will return. Spoiler alert, he's not come back.
No, not a thing.
No, not a thing. He hasn't returned.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? Yeah, who saw that coming?
It was what?
Nobody saw that. The lover, he was convicted of multiple charges. I couldn't find exactly what. La Madrina, the godmother, Sarah Aldrete, she was convicted of criminal association in 1990 and multiple slayings in 1994 and sentenced to 64 years in prison.
Cool.
She would later write a book about her time in the cult, and she would teach her fellow inmates English. To this day, she denies all involvement in the killings, saying that if she had known about the murders, she wouldn't have stayed. Oh, okay. Because we believe you.
Yeah.
Sure. So this is a quote from La Madrina. I am at peace in my soul. I am clean. So Aldrete denies committing the murders. She said that she would welcome a miracle that would open the gates and allow her to walk the streets barefoot. If she doesn't mark the time by looking in the mirror or glancing at the calendar, she can pace the prison yard where seedlings she planted when she arrived are now trees that shade prisoners, braiding hair, sleeping and talking.
Wow, she sounds great. I would
Doesn't
like.
she sound lovely?
Just planting trees, braiding hair, killing.
I want her to be my next pen pal.
Dear
La Madrina, Godmother, I would like a pumpkin carriage and glass slippers to go to the ball. Thank you, Cinderella.
Aww.
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there? Good. Thank you. She receives letters from the curious, the friendly, even the romantic, and the twisted, asking for details. She's received marriage proposals. And she's like, I don't think so, because I'm in here and this is my real world right now.
She's getting marriage proposals and I can't even get a text back.
We clearly could take a page out of her book. So I think what?
Cool. So be a witch, be a serial killer, and a psychopath.
Great.
And don't do drugs.
And don't do drugs. Don't do drugs.
Don't wear white after Labor Day. So.
Tip your server.
Tip your server. Are you listening, Cosmo? Are you listening, Cosmopolitan Magazine? Because
okay, I have a little bit more. She says, I'm trying to be patient and stay out of trouble.
How are you trying to stay out of trouble in prison?
So like just as I did before, I want to bring this kind of full circle and back around to the victims. There was definitely 15 victims, but by my count, there were a lot more. Some reports say only 5 victims, but 15 bodies were unearthed at the ranch that Sarah and Adolfo practiced their craft at, the Devil's Ranch. So here are the known victims. Guillermo Calzada Sanchez and 6 members of his families vanished under mysterious circumstances, only to have their mutilated remains fished out of the Zumpango River in pieces. All of the corpses had signs of sadistic torture. Excuse me. Their fingers and toes had been removed. Ears were gone. Hearts and genitals were excised. Parts of the spine had been ripped out
No.
of one of them, and 2 of the corpses were missing their brains.
I have a problem with missing brains.
So the victim list continues. Drug dealer Hector de la Fuente, a farmer by the name of Moises Castillo, Raul Paz Esquivel, he was a former lover of a cult member by the name of Jorge Montes, and his remains were dumped into the street for children to find. Cult member and former cop Jorge Valentin de Fierro Gomez was another sacrifice, and because he violated the cult's rule of no drugs. Really?
Okay.
Yeah. They also sacrificed competing smuggler Esquivel Rodriguez Luna. He was tortured to death on Valentine's Day in 1989. 2 more drug smugglers were added to the list, Ruben Vela Garza and Ernesto Rivas Diaz, when they wandered into the ceremony uninvited. Like, you're not welcome here, so
We're gonna
You
kill
can't sit with us.
Seats
this
taken.
is not your table.
You're not wearing pink.
You're not wearing pink. Another victim who was yet to be identified was shot in the head, which was out of the ordinary for them. And this victim also had wandered into the ceremony uninvited, but also still remains unidentified. Jose Garcia was a cult member's cousin who was kidnapped and slayed before they could recognize their error. He was only 14. So by my count, that's 16 people.
Yeah.
That's 16 victims. 1 more victim was sacrificed, also unidentified, but his death was not bloody or violent enough to appease El Padrino. He didn't scream enough because the deaths had to be very violent. So at that unidentified man who was sacrificed, then he ordered his lackeys to go to Motamoros to find another sacrifice, and that's where they found Mark Kilroy. And Mark Kilroy is the one that, he is the sacrifice that unraveled the entire story. So his mother she has said that if it wasn't for Mark, there would have been more deaths, there would have been more sacrifices. So for that, Mark's death didn't go in vain. But it's a very powerful and heart-wrenching story for his family, and for the 20 some odd victims that I've listed. And that's my case.
AJ, do you know? Oh, wait. Golf snap.
Oh, wait. Golf snaps, golf claps, golf hands.
AJ, do you know if any of those other cases before the med student, if any of those were like the disappearance were even investigated, or the family that was thrown into the river, was that checked out?
From what I read, from the reports I read, they weren't. They were kind of ignored. They were swept under the rug because they were all even the family, the Guillermo family, he was a drug dealer, so police didn't care.
That is so wild.
They didn't care. So the people that died, the farmer, the drug dealers, it was all very ignored until this white boy from UT goes missing, and then all of a sudden there's this media coverage. And so when we talk about like racism and privilege, and we talk about focus on crimes, this is a good example.
I mean, I do personally think in this country we are taking steps forward, slowly and painfully, but you still do see this where it's what you were saying with the drug dealer piece. If somebody is killed and they're a drug dealer, that's kind of the highlight. Drug dealer, John Doe was killed, and it's like
they're not seen as a person,
right? And did they deserve to die for selling weed? Or no, because it's legal in 15 states here in the US.
And what bothered me was with the Guillermo family, it didn't list if there were children, if there were women, if there were.
It just was family.
It just said family, and so I don't know. I don't have specifics on their criteria. I don't know their demographics, but if it were family, I would imagine there's a spectrum of victims in that situation. So it's all very unnecessary killing.
But they were, sounds like horrifically tortured. Why?
Yes.
That would, if my piece of my spine is missing, can you please encourage the police to maybe like look into where it is?
Right.
What was your spine wearing, Randy?
Was my spine drunk?
Yeah. Was your I'm so sorry.
Did my
Was
spine
it
have a
out
condom in
after
the hole?
curfew?
That was a wild story, AJ.
That's
So that's
wow.
my story of La Madrina y el Padrino, Santeria, Palomayombe, Santa Elena Ranch,
I
and the
am-
Nanga.
El bowling pin.
El Derby.
I am
El derby.
literally never covering a case where I have to use the Spanish language because I am going to absolutely butcher it, and you have set the standard too high for me.
Oh,
It is
did
set
very good.
high.
Sunny, do you have a case for us?
So I don't know if you guys are going to love what I've done this week, but we're going to find out.
Uh-oh.
if
Since-
not, I know who to blame. And I will come at you with my Nanga. Don't think I won't.
Goat in the backyard, just waiting for it.
If you're
That's
watching on
right.
YouTube, I'm eating cheese curds. Don't judge.
If we are looking at our reverse shit sandwich here and we have the bread in between, I have 3 slices of bread for you this time around, if you will. And so I have 3 mini cases that
Ooh, I love it.
related to our theme. And we will see, I am starting most recent and we are going backwards.
Back in time.
Gotta
This,
go back in time. Gotta go back in time. That was okay. I'll stop now.
Everyone's gone.
only you. Everyone's stopped listening now. Monkey noise. Now it's a talent show. We like it. So my first case comes from Louisiana in September 2020.
Oh, that's recent.
Oh, very recent.
Mhm. So there were 3 individuals involved. There was a priest and 2 women accused of having sex on a church altar in Louisiana.
I'm here for it.
Full send.
So Mindy Lynn Dixon from Kent, Washington, who's 41.
Oh,
Melissa
Hold on.
and
Mindy Lynn Dixon.
Mindy Lynn Dixon.
Mindy Lynn.
Mindy Lynn, you're always getting up to mischief.
Was she in pageants?
Let's just say she went south of the Dixon line, y'all.
Hey,
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
We also have Melissa Kamen Chang from Alpharetta, Georgia, who's 28. And we have Travis John Clark, who does not know how to spell John, or his parents didn't, who's 37.
How does he spell it?
Jhon.
shut up.
Nope.
Jen.
So, it's John.
You know,
according to
go ahead. No, go ahead.
an eyewitness who took a video of the encounter, the 3 were having sex on the church altar, and then they notified the local police. The description from the video shows Clark partially naked, but wearing priestly clothing while having sex. And the 2 women were clad, for some reason, there's always something about, attire in all of my things.
I think that's your
also-
thing.
Yeah, the just weird attire. That's going to be my thread.
That's your thread. That's your shtick.
The video also shows the two women wearing corsets and high-heeled boots.
I want to be best friends with them.
Yeah, I mean, they sound fantastic and the pictures are spectacular.
Randi, that
So-
was us.
They're like, oh yeah, no, that was.
Oh shit, this is us. This is our case. Don't say
I know,
anything.
Don't at me.
You two are just like looking awkwardly to the side. They're like, yeah, that's weird. Those two
That
women.
is so weird. I had
Too.
I had no idea that was
Who would
coming.
do that? It's just
Wow. Mm.
So, police confiscated plastic sex toys, stage lights, and 2 recording devices from the church as evidence,
I love them.
and booked all 3 with obscenity. So, in Louisiana law, obscenity is, you can have a charge for that if you are having sex in any, in quotes, place open to the public view.
Outside of the bedroom without the double bed. That is obscene.
Yeah, well, outside of,
that is
and you
just
need to be doing-
obscene. If
You
you,
need to
are
be doing
having
it through the
sex
sheet.
outside of your bedroom and you are not in your double bed, that is just obscene in Louisiana, Pinkachine County.
It just goes against the Lord's work.
yeah,
It just
well,
they're not good Christian people.
you are only allowed to do it missionary through the sheet with a small hole cut in it.
With the
That's
lights turned off.
Very small.
acceptable way to do
And
that.
only to procreate.
And only for procreation purposes.
Fuck that
So-
shit.
Seriously.
My favorite thing is that their attorney, Bradley Phillips, I'm going to read a quote by him, which is spectacular. Once again, the court has overstepped their bounds, as this is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to regulate the morality of private individuals. Just because you don't like something doesn't make it criminal. My clients look forward to their day in court as we continue to fight this baseless allegation.
Did he sassy snap?
I picture him being like Bradley Phillips with a sassy snap after everything he says. So I have no idea what he looks like, but
I really hope so.
So they, my Lord, heavens!
I don't know if I
AJ.
want to edit that out or not.
Peter, what was that?
Ruger. Who was?
Oh, it was the birds.
It was a bird.
So although all 3 were originally booked with obscenity, they ended up only being charged with institutional vandalism. I do have another just ending to this case. The Archbishop, Gregory Amond, who's over this church, described the desecration of the altar as quote unquote demonic. He later had the altar removed from the sanctuary and burned. A new altar was then consecrated.
Life goals. I want somebody to call me demonic and then destroy something that I had sex on.
Yeah, so
There would
that's
be too many things to
bucket list.
destroy in my life.
No.
I said that out loud.
You did. No
good.
comment.
Gonna drink some bourbon.
Be burning countries down.
That is slice of bread number 1.
I love your section. I love this. I am here for it.
Should move Sunny to
Okay.
the end because like people are gonna need a breath of fresh air after my case.
I'm the cracker after 2 glasses of wine.
I fucking love it. All right. Dive number
So-
2.
So, slice of bread number 2 happened in 2010. This is a story about a woman named Angela Sanford, and this takes place in New Mexico. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but Angela Sanford is a murderer who claims she was going to perform a Wiccan celebration of spring that is normally involving a ritualistic dagger that ended up killing a man who she invited to the ceremony. The victim,
I mean, I didn't mean to. It's because it was for my religion.
So Beltane is a celebration of spring, typically observed in the springtime. I know, isn't that weird that that would happen? And it is celebrated typically by followers of Wicca, which is a pagan religion that can be associated with witchcraft, and you two are far more experts in that realm than I am. But often the two are incorrectly interchanged.
Yes, that is a big fact.
She did claim to be both Wiccan and a witch.
So
but
real quick, Sunny, sorry,
Go for it.
not getting on a soapbox. So we said in the last episode, if you didn't get to it because the audio was terrible, I understand. AJ and I are both practicing witches. I choose not to follow the Wiccan path. It's just not something that I choose to do. So it's not what I identify as. So you can be a Wiccan witch. You can be Wiccan. You can be a witch. You can totally not, just because you're a witch doesn't mean you're Wiccan. There's many different paths.
You could be a Christian witch. You could be a Jewish witch. You could be all of the above, neither, or any.
And also with Wiccan, if I'm misspeaking, somebody just hit me up, let me know at bourbonwineandtruecrime@yahoo.com or on our Facebook page. If I'm pretty sure with Wiccan, it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more rules, and it's very much do what you will, harm none, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I know I butchered it. It's not coming to mind right now. So it's kind of different that she would kill somebody.
So I will get to it.
Okay, sorry. I'm climbing off my soapbox.
Yep. But so just to clarify, she is claiming to be both, but we'll kind of get to what that's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be in celebration of Beltane, according to her. So the victim, Joel Leva, was found with 13 stab wounds. Well, Sanford was found at the scene in just her underwear and tried to plead not guilty. After the stabbing, I
could be found any place in just my underwear.
Same, like hard same, especially during Zoom calls. I could.
And the pandemic. Who puts on clothes?
Pandemic.
Who puts on clothes? Nobody puts on clothes. Anyway, go ahead.
That's the pandemic uniform, is just, it's a nice top and underwear. So that's that. But so she was reportedly fled the area and asked a hiker to use their cell phone to call police. A witness had said that he saw her hiding behind some rocks, and then when they made eye contact, she emerged just in her underwear and sort of looking around said she was just raped, and can she use the cell phone? So that was a little bit unusual, and while absolutely, telling police about being raped, you should be believed, but there were a couple of inconsistencies. So one, she was hiding behind boulders, appearing she didn't want to be seen. Secondly, Sanford's clothes were neatly folded near Leva's body. So that was part of it. And Sanford had said that she and Leva met on the hiking trail, and they shared a couple of drinks, and she claimed that Leva tied her arms, had made some sexual gestures, and then removed the dagger from her pants. So they kind of did some investigation, and the reason why she ended up being sentenced to second-degree murder was that in their investigation, they looked through Sanford's phone, and Leva's number was stored as, and I quote, sacrifice.
Oh, that wasn't
Oh, girl,
smart.
no. Girl,
Oh,
no.
Honey,
Honey, no.
Getting away with murder.
You got to do better than that. Be better than that.
Be
okay?
cute.
You don't leave that kind of evidence. All right? Come on now. You are not one of us. Bye-bye.
I do want to say that in response to this of her claiming, because a lot of the headlines are like, murderer witch and, Wiccan doing whatever it is. Wiccans nationally have disavowed her and have clarified that they do not practice blood sacrifice, that the dagger involved is meant to be symbolic and absolutely not related to violence in any way. And they have very much distanced themselves from her and that practice. And it appears that she was acting on her own. So that is slice of bread number 2.
Okay, so I love this because I could be like, babe, it's a dagger. We're in the bed. It's symbolic. Just go with it. I
Go
mean,
with it.
like,
Well,
Hot.
for those of you who can't see my actions, it's like pulling the dagger out, like with your lover in front of you. Like, it's fine. Don't worry. It's part of it.
Well,
Your husband is like, should I be worried that my name has been changed to Sacrifice in your phone?
that's my new
phone?
pet name for you.
Oh,
I will say and witchcraft is one of those things for anyone that is practicing currently. I'm sure it's hard to have concrete, I guess you would say, like, quote unquote rules, because you're trying to gather things from people that are long dead, people that are killed back when, women were sacrificed for being witches because dumb reasons, honestly. But the dagger in witchcraft is called an athame. I might be saying it wrong. But
it's the same one in this one. Yep.
And you're not, from what I've researched, you're not supposed to use that to cut physical objects. It's more cutting energy. So for her to have it that goes against everything that I've ever read about Wicca, to use the athame in that way and to literally kill somebody. Oh, and it's and harm it none, do what ye will. I remembered. That's the Wiccan read.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so claim to be Wiccan, not doing it right, but that's, that's okay. Anyway, she's in jail, so we're...
How much time did you say she got, Sunny?
Let me see. 20 years.
Okay.
Yep. So we don't have to worry about her for a little bit. We got another...
I do appreciate that she neatly folded his clothes.
Right. If everyone could can you just fold your clothes?
Can you just fold your clothes?
Don't leave
That's
them
all
in the
I want.
basket like a
That's
heathen.
all I want. Can you just neatly fold your clothes?
Can
Even
you
if it's
imagine?
next to the murdered body.
Can you imagine in the middle of sex, you're just like, what is that? Excuse me. Fix it.
Just do that much.
I'm not your mother. I'm not your mother.
So
Fold
you
your
know what?
pants.
I support her for neatly folding the clothes.
Just that part. Just that little
part.
smidge.
Everyone has to have a positive aspect about them. So
That's
it's
silver lining.
silver lining there. So I have slice of bread number 3, which we are going back to the 50s for.
Okay.
Ooh.
And today we are going to be talking about psychic surgery.
Okay.
So to give a little background on what psychic surgery is, it is a quote unquote bloodless surgery in which and then in quotes, surgeon uses his hands on top of your body and then appears to pull out, pieces of your body, organs, tumors, whatever it is. Your skin is just entirely untouched. And it is because of the surgeon's magical abilities that there is no incision. And they will insist that these objects are part of your body, but it's in every case it has been proven to be chicken gizzards and or something of the like. So this became popular. It's most popular in the Philippines, but there was a guy named Aldrete, maybe, who was in the Philippines, who was popular in the 40s, who taught a student, Tony Agpoa, who is the main person we're talking about today, who took those teachings and then became famous through them. So obviously a lot of health professionals, some psychics, as well as magicians who also are excellent at sleight of hand, started calling him a fraud, calling it a hoax, demonstrating that they could do it as well. He was eventually, and this is where the crime part comes in, charged for fraud after he had healed a man's neck bone. And surprise, surprise, the neck bone still had a problem with it. So ended up being charged for fraud there. And he may have become the most popular of his time. But funny enough, when his appendix burst, he went to a real hospital. Wasn't interested
don't
in
say.
surgery.
Oh,
What
you
are the
don't
odds?
say.
To get his appendix removed surgically by a real surgeon. So he and
How
several
dare
other-
he?
he and several other psychic surgeons have been charged for fraud. This practice still is going on to this day in pockets. And I will end with a quote just from American surgeon William A. Nolan about Agpoa, which according to the AMA, he had separated hundreds of patients from their life savings and cured no one. So
I think I found my next profession.
I mean, I am here for it. I really, yeah, you got a bucket full of chicken gizzards and you go, oh my God, is that Tony Danza? And then you're like, look. So that thus ends slice of bread number 3 for rituals and witchcrafts. And those are my cases.
Love it.
Those
were amazing.
So totally off topic. If you're watching on YouTube, I love how the filter thinks that my arm is a part of the background.
Mm-hmm.
Disrespectful to my tattoos.
It's
Very.
removed via psychic surgery.
I hate stories like that though, because you're a thief and you're stealing from people that are, probably can't afford medical care as it is.
Well, and I get on my soapbox about that kind of thing, and I don't like manipulation, and I don't like things that aren't fact-based. So thought I'd do a little segment on psychic surgery. So
It is interesting.
I didn't even know
kinda
that
give
was a
it-
thing. I honestly had never heard of that.
I've heard of psychic healing.
Like, why would I pay somebody for that when I could just do psychic surgery on myself?
Yeah.
Oh, but he's special, AJ. He's special. He knows how to.
I bet he's special.
He was very special.
He's real special. And not in the special kind of way that we would want him to be.
Bad special. You're a terrible person. Okay. Super excited about my case.
Yay.
Again, in typical self-torture fashion, I researched something from way back in the day when there wasn't a ton of information written down. So today I will be discussing the case of Countess Elizabeth Bathory, aka the most prolific female serial killer in history, aka
Why would you do this?
I know, aka the Blood Countess.
Yes.
Another fun fact about
shit sandwich.
shit sandwich. So another fun fact about the three of us, if you are already completely turned off by the fact that there's two witches, the three of us are feminists, not the ones you see on TV doing weird shit with clothes, the ones that think everybody should have equal rights and be treated equally and report their sexual assaults and sexual trauma. So that's gonna, in the words of AJ, we're gonna circle back around to that at the end of it. Okay, so Countess Elizabeth Bathory was born on August 7th, 1560, and she died August 21st, 1614. So she was almost exactly 54 years old when she died. She was a Hungarian noblewoman who owned land in the Kingdom of Hungary. I was trying to find how much land because it plays back in later on. I couldn't because it was the 15 and 1600s. So she was the niece of Stephen Bathory, who was the King of Poland. the Grand Duke of Lithuania, and the Prince of Transylvania. So she was very high in the social class.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she was. As a child,
I kind of love her, even though she's like
Stop.
she's the worst. She's the worst. Okay,
I'm gonna get to
Okay.
that part.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
People are. It was.
I disapprove.
So as a child, Bathory suffered from epilepsy, or as it was called at the time, quote unquote, falling sickness. Treatments included rubbing the blood of a non-sufferer on the lips of an epileptic, or giving them a mix of the non-sufferer's blood and a piece of their skull as the episode ended. I was researching for quite a while. I couldn't figure out where the skull piece came from. So I don't know. Also, I've had 5 hours of sleep in the last 48 hours, so please be gentle with me. All right, so it is said that the epilepsy was a result of the inbreeding that was occurring because, again, very high social class, quote unquote, keep the bloodline pure. Stories circulated that Bathory witnessed brutal punishments to servants as a child. At the age of, and again, kind of like last episode, if you did suffer through that, I didn't have a lot of information about Madame Delphi Lalaurie. So either 10 to 12, she was betrothed to Ferenc Nadasati. He was about 14 to 16, and he was from another aristocratic Hungarian family. But a year or two after she was betrothed, she gave birth to a child, and the report said that it was fathered from a peasant in one of the local villages. I think there was around 17 around. Nope, we'll get to that. So it was a peasant boy. Her betrothed found out, and he had the father of the child castrated and torn apart by dogs. After she gave birth, the child was given to a local woman. Yep.
That doesn't seem like an overreaction. That's fine.
Yeah, because you got to think when this happened, the I guess the fiance was he was still, 16, 17, 18 when he ordered this boy to be, tortured and murdered.
Brain not done cooking, so
Yeah,
get it? Irrational.
Inbreeding.
Inbreeding. All I can think about, and I'm so sorry, like when you said, you're like, yeah, there weren't a lot of options. I'm like, big power, itty bitty breeding space.
Funny, I love every time you move because I just see this like fat cheeked bat. We're gonna have to post that on the social media. He's so cute. They're so cute.
He's so cute.
So the baby was given to a local woman that was trusted by the family to raise as her own, and then nothing else is said about that child. They married on May 8th, 1575 at the palace of, I'm gonna butcher this because it's a lot of Hungarian, Vranov Nad Toplo, and around 4,500 guests attended. So that's a pretty significant deal.
4,500?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Yeah, because this is back in the 1500s.
God, can you imagine tying goodie bags for 4,500?
Here's your party favor. Thank you for coming.
Here's your
Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
You
Can you imagine that reception line?
Oh, hugging?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what it is.
Everyone wants to dance with the bride.
Yeah, no, I'm in heels. My feet hurt. So I thought this was kind of cool. Bathory had a higher social standing than her husband. So she, I tried. Everyone in Hungary stopped listening.
Yes.
But she had a higher social standing than her husband, so she kept her surname and he changed his name to Bathory. Feminism
Yes,
for the
he
win.
did.
Yeah, he did.
Hey.
As a wedding gift to Bathory, her husband gave her his household, the castle of Sajet, which included the Sajet country house and 17 adjacent villages. So she essentially owned a pretty large piece of land. Again, I looked this up a lot and I was trying to find acreage and I couldn't. And I went down a rabbit hole with this. I was like, I don't want to work today. I'm gonna
She had huge tracts of land. No,
The wheat
nobody
fields.
reference.
Nope, don't get it. You know I don't watch comedy. So in 1578, her husband was appointed the chief commander of Hungarian troops. This is when Hungary was at war with the Ottomans. And so he was away most of the time. She was in charge of defense for the castle and the surrounding villages from opposing Ottoman troops. There was one or two websites that I saw that was, she took multiple lovers, but I couldn't find anything that validated that. So
Yeah,
probably
she
just-
did.
probably, I hope she did. Do it, girl. So
It's not
she-
like he's always home taking care of business.
yeah, he's out doing his thing. I
Okay.
need to do the thing. And so
Stop it, you
so-
two. Stop. Dirty girls, get out of here.
oh, really, Sonny? Really? Don't even get me started on
Shall we go there?
let me stop recording. So she was also, and we'll circle back around to this in a second. She was also responsible for providing medical care to the people in the villages. There were several, and I saw this in multiple sources. Sources are in the show notes. There were several instances where Bathory would intervene on behalf of women in need, including a woman whose husband was captured by the Ottomans and a woman whose daughter was raped and impregnated. I couldn't find any details on it because, again, 1500s. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. Between 1585 and 1598, Bathory gave birth to 5 children. I'm not going to lie to you, fair listeners. I have the names. I'm not going to attempt to say them. So she had 5 kids.
If she's anything like my mother, she called them all the same name.
Boy
So
and girl.
like if the first one was named like Hunk, she was like Hunk and Hunk and Hunk. Like they were all the same name. So it doesn't matter.
You know, if I had kids,
you
I'd
in the
go-
red shirt.
if I had kids, I go straight birdhouse or birdhouse, birdcage. The one with Sandra
Birdcage.
Bullock. Birdcage. Yep. Boy,
No,
girl.
oh no, wait. No.
You know what I'm talking about? The blind.
The Blind Side.
Along Came Polly?
That's Jennifer Aniston. Not the same.
I don't know.
Oh,
sure.
so wrong.
It's
Okay.
fine.
On January 4th, 1604, her husband died at the age of 48. So the cause of death is unknown, again, 1600s, but he had been suffering from an illness in 1601, which began with crippling pain in his legs, and then he was just permanently disabled by 1603, and then he died in 1604. These scientists probably know what that is. So him and Bathory have been married 1600s.
I don't know.
He and Bathory had been married for 29 years by the time he died. In his will, her husband entrusted his heirs and Bathory to Georgi Thurzo, who is Bathory's cousin. I don't know what that means, that he entrusted them to him, but his name comes around again, Georgi Thurzo. So between
I think it means that he like gave them as their like their ward. Like he was responsible for them.
yeah, but it's weird because she was more powerful than he was.
Yeah, but she probably didn't have time for that and or didn't want to be involved.
And patriarchy.
And patriarch.
And patriarchy.
Like
Which-
she had more title, but she was a female. So like
Right.
I'm gonna die and I have to give you to someone else to be responsible for them to be responsible for you.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially for the time period.
Yeah.
So between 1602 and 1604, rumors of Bathory's atrocities had spread so much that Lutheran minister Istvan Maggiore made complaints against her at the court in Vienna, but King Matthias II didn't respond until 1610, when he appointed Thurzo to investigate, and Thurzo in turn ordered 2 notaries to collect evidence in March of 1610. So the reason why, excuse me, the reason why I wasn't investigated, because it wasn't until about 1609 that stories started coming out that daughters of noble people were missing, were being killed, were being tortured. So by October 1610, they had 52 witness statements, and by 1611, they had over 300. She and 4 servants were arrested in her home on December 30th, 1610. And at the time of her arrest, there were imprisoned girls as well as mutilated, dead, or dying victims in the castle. According to testimonies, Bathory's first victims were young girls between the ages of 10 to 14 who were servants that worked in the castle. So obviously the small villages come work in the castle for money and food because they would essentially live there, and then they wouldn't be a issue to their parents anymore, like a financial burden.
And there were no questions asked. Like, she had such like street cred. People were like, sure, take my child.
Exactly. But when the rumors started that she was killing the daughters of nobility in 1609 is when the royal court finally started to pay attention, because, you know, fuck those peasant girls.
Okay, my question is, it's kind of like, yeah, how many times before we should be worried? Like 300? Does that seem reasonable? Like, yeah, totally. It's like, do it once, shame on you. You know, do it twice, shame on me. Do it 300. I don't know I'm not sure who we go to at that point. 300?
Wait, what? Wait, huh?
Yeah, it's
what?
There's a book that I will put on Facebook, so I didn't write it down, that I want to read, but I'll get there. So she was accused of killing between a couple of dozen and over 600 young women and girls. After collecting testimony from 300 witnesses, her cousin determined that Bathory had killed between 600 to 650 victims. But that number came from a servant girl who had read it in one of Bathory's private books, and that book was never presented to the court. It was said that the bodies were buried in church graveyards at night, and that's why they were never discovered, because there were not 650 bodies discovered. Survivors and witnesses reported victims experienced severe beatings, burning, or mutilation of hands, freezing, or starving to death. According to the Budapest City Archives, victims would be covered in honey and live ants or burned with hot tongs and then put in freezing water. People also testified that Bathory would stick needles into her victims' lips or body parts, stabbing at them with scissors or biting off pieces of their breasts, faces, and limbs. The servants that, okay, so here's gonna be a plot twist. So the servants that confessed to the crimes that Bathory was accused of did so after intense torture sessions. The 4 servant girls were found guilty of being accomplices. The servant girls were executed, and one report said that they were burned at the stake as witches. That's where the witchcraft thing comes in. There's also some, I don't know why I didn't put it in my notes. There's also reports that Bathory was taught, and as a witch, I hate whenever they use these terms synonymously, but she was taught Satanism and witchcraft by her parents. So she was I
mean, technically you could be a satanic witch if you chose to be.
You could be. I haven't met any. So the servant girls were executed. Bathory could not be tried or executed because it would damage the reputation of Transylvanian royalty and the upper class in general. So they didn't want this big scandal because this very high-ranking, noble woman was put on trial. So she was never even put on trial. The court heard the evidence in her absence. She was arrested later, and then she was put on house arrest. I read in a couple stories that she was, bricked up in her room, but that doesn't, it seems like she was just on house arrest. She was able to move around her house. She just couldn't leave her house. About 4 years later, on August 20th, 1614, Bathory complained to her bodyguard that her hands were cold. He responded with, quote, "It's nothing, miss, just go lie down," end quote. She was found dead the next morning. So that's why I don't think she was bricked up in her room. Sounds like she was able to move about. She was originally buried in the local church, and the local villagers said, "Fuck that." So her body was moved to the Bathory family. Yeah.
It was literally, fuck that.
Fuck that. They probably didn't say fuck that, but that's what I put in my notes. So that's what we're going with. But the villagers.
I'm going with it. I think it's accurate.
And to quote a villager, fuck that.
Quote unquote, fuck that. So they moved her body to the family crypt, but today we don't know where her body is because there's 0 markings for where she would be buried. So here's where the plot twist happens. Rumors after her death started that she would drink the blood of virgins to preserve her beauty and youthfulness. She would bathe in the blood of her young victims. She developed this habit after slapping a female servant and noticed that her skin looked younger where the blood had landed, which you would have to slap the shit out of somebody.
Shut up. Okay, so my question is, are we starting a beauty line? So this is my.
I mean, I guess we have to see.
Bourbon wine and true crime ingredients. It just says don't ask. That's it.
Ingredients, no.
No.
So this is where, because AJ, I was where you were at, and I was like, oh, this is going to be super bloody and gory. But this is why at the beginning of my case, I said that, hi, fun fact, we're feminists. So the story of her bathing in her victim's blood first appeared in print in 1729. So over 100 years. Wait, when did she die? Yep, over 100 years after she died. In the work of Jesuit scholar Laszlo Tarusizi, but no witness accounts or testimonies against her say anything about her bathing in blood, using blood for anything like that. And then according to historyhit.com, modern historians have claimed that these stories originated from the widespread disbelief that women are not capable of violence for its own sake, which I still think kind of perpetuates to this day a little bit. Like female serial killers are not super common. In 1817, the witness accounts were published for the first time, further showing that the legends of Bathory drinking and bathing in blood were just stories. So some people believe, and I saw this in a couple different places, and I've kind of heard this before. Some people believe that it was all a conspiracy, as there were no witnesses that had seen her torturing people. Everyone had just heard about it. Steve told me she did this, or, Stacy told me that this happened. Nobody had firsthand accounts. That's the name
Stacy's mom has got it going on. She's all that I want, and I'm there for so long. Stacy, can't you see? You're just not the girl for me. I know I might be wrong. I'm in love with Stacy's mom. It's always a Stacy. It's always a Stacy.
Yeah, Stacy and Steve were the name of Hungarian peasants. That's what I'm going with.
Yes. That's such classic villager Steve.
Stacy.
So you know how earlier I said that she was responsible for the medical care of the villagers that she was that were in her area? It is said, or it has been argued, that the mutilated, dying, and dead victims were really patients that Bathory was helping to care for, because that's the big piece of physical evidence against her that her cousin used. The Hungarian professor Laszlo Nagy and Dr. Irma Sadzaki Kardos claim that the accusations and proceedings against Bathory were politically motivated because she was very wealthy and owned large amounts of land. She may have been a perceived threat to the leaders of Hungary and appeared to support her nephew, Gábor Bathory, who is the ruler of Transylvania and rival to the throne in Hungary. So this time in Hungary, they were at war with people. There was a lot of political dissension. People were vying for the throne, and she was supporting somebody who was a rival to the Hungarian throne, who was already ruler in Transylvania. So it was not uncommon at the time to accuse a wealthy widow of murder, witchcraft, or sexual misconduct to seize her lands and asset. And fun fact, her net worth was anywhere between, at the time, I don't have no idea what the currency in Hungary is then or currently, but according to Google, her net worth was anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million, which today would be between $4,614,280,000 and $4,614,280,701.75 today. So it's a lot of,
wow.
Yeah, I won $4 billion.
Jeez Louise.
So there's a lot of, because at face value, I was like, yeah, like the blood count is 600 girls dead, but there's little to no evidence that she did any of that. It's just, it seems like she was targeted by the Hungarian crown because of her money, her land, her political ties, and they tortured people to come up with these witness accounts to say that she was this, brutal sadist, serial killer, so on and so forth. But there isn't much evidence to support any of those claims.
Nobody knows.
I remember from this story too, like she had been treating medically one of her young patients, and the blood spilled onto her hand, and she noticed that her hand then looked younger, and that was the catapult to her wanting to bathe in the blood, that it gave her hand this more youthful look once the blood spilt on her hand. But again, it's all
So it could go a couple different ways. It could be that she genuinely was helping. Then she was like, dang, I'm looking a little old, like a little rough around the edges. And then as she's caring for a patient, she's like, ooh, fancy. And then and then went down some kind of rabbit hole. Or she was like awful the whole time, or she wasn't awful at all. And everyone hates women.
Well, that's the thing. The first story about her doing anything like that with blood came out like 115 years after she died. And that is the story of Countess Elizabeth Bathory.
She a bad witch, y'all.
She a bad witch. I think it's always so funny because I know witchcraft, if you have fair listeners, if you have certain perceptions about witchcraft, I encourage you to actually look into it, because I was reading this on different sites and it was her family practiced witchcraft. And I'm like, oh, heavens no.
Her family practiced Methodism and they took casseroles everywhere they went.
I mean, like, you know, my family practiced Presbyterianism, and it's always saying it's like, what, oh God, okay, I'm gonna butcher it, never mind. It had something to do with salad forks, and I don't remember.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh,
I have no idea.
You told me that story. It's like, oh, Presbyterians go to hell for using their salad fork on chicken or something.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so that is the end of this episode. As always, you can find us on Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime on Facebook and Instagram. If you would like to reach out to us, we're at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime at yahoo.com. We're also on Patreon at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime. We're going to do something a little bit different this time. If you are done with the cases, you can turn it off now. If you are one of the beautiful souls that sat through the first episode where we know the audio was terrible, we're going to do a little bit of a behind the scenes with our long 2-episode journey so far. So if you're not interested, you can just turn it off. So if you sat through the first episode, thank you. We know the audio was terrible. Our first episode was actually our second episode that we recorded, because believe it or not, the first episode was worse.
Yeah.
I know.
Trust.
I know. Everyone's like, what? That's not possible.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
so bad. That's why we didn't even bother publishing it. But AJ, Sunny, and I are big fans of true crime. Very typical white girl, I feel like, in 2021. And I think AJ, you brought up us doing a true crime podcast.
I did. This has been a big dream of mine for a long time. I'm obsessed with podcasts. I'm obsessed with true crime. I'm obsessed with podcasts that have to deal with true crime. And more importantly, I'm obsessed with Sunny and Randi. Like, you're my blood. You're my flesh. And so I'm like, anybody who would listen to me, I'm like, please, let's do a podcast. Like, I have to do this. And find, like, this is literally the magical chemistry that has made it happen.
Well, we've been talking about it for quite a while, and I think we finally got serious about it when the lovely and intelligent Tony made us our logo, and it's just like, well, shit, this is real now. Yeah.
I mean, AJ, I know you and I at one point we were throwing around something like it was years. I don't remember how many years ago, but it was going to be something about, I was going to talk about like the way your body reacts to some type of death, and then you were going to do something related to, it was something.
We were going to do something to the effect of like how, like what people did wrong and then how to get away with it.
Oh.
And we're like, that definitely isn't going to put us in a weird spotlight or anything. So
that is and so Sunny is the science expert. However, I do need to say, like, she and I we graduated the same day. We both have degrees in microbiology. We're both scientists. I'm a diehard scientist. So there's a lot of bleeding into each other's beliefs across the three of us. So
the Venn diagram is intense.
It's very intense.
Every time I'm like, Batman voice. Here's
it is. It's very intense. I can't even do it. But we've been talking about this for a while, and when we finally made it happen, I'm just ecstatic.
I am too. We're at 40 listens on our first episode, which bless you for dealing with that because
I'm 37 of those. So let's
So thank you, the three of you who listened. We're very
by
excited.
the way, thank you to the three of you, Jose, Tony, and Soraya. Thank you. Because I'm the other 37.
I do want to give a shout out to all of our friends that have taken the time to listen and to comment and to like the pages and to give us feedback, because anyone that knows us personally knows that we're not thin-skinned in any sense of the word. So we do appreciate the suggestions. And Rick sent me he was like, buy this microphone, it's really good. And I was like, that microphone is $500. I'm going to stick to my $35 Amazon pick. That seems to be working okay. We'll see, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm like, do I need to sell a kidney?
Again, balling on a budget here. Budget. Getting a little low here, y'all.
I know we all have backgrounds on right now, but we're literally sitting in our closets to improve the sound
We're
quality.
sitting in our closets.
Yep.
I'm sitting in my son's closet with a Spider-Man outfit hanging behind me.
Looks like a little child hanging. Next time we should just not
Okay,
have
well
filters.
that's terrifying. So
That's why the bat background is less terrifying.
That's why I'm sure you can see like this is my this is my shirt. This is my very small closet. But we really do appreciate you guys, girls, LGBTQ plus, wherever you fall into the spectrum of your gender. I'm from South Philly. I can't say it.
Then say folks. Just look, it's not as far south. You can go Midwest. It's not that far away. You can just happen to skip over to the Midwest. And
we appreciate all yous folks.
You guys.
Okay, I have a really quick story that y'all will appreciate. So shout out to my bestie V. You know who I'm talking about, V. So I'm a movie buff. I love movies, and I'm like, you have to watch this movie, and I love this movie. And she's like, oh, I've met some celebrities. I've been to Hollywood. And she's like, I met Nicole Kidman. And I'm like, shut the front door. Like, you met Nicole Kidman. She's like,
I will fight you.
No, wait. She's like,
AJ,
no, wait.
you are Nicole Kidman. Shush. Like, just shush.
She's like, no, wait. It wasn't Nicole Kidman. She was, and V is very short. Like, V is very, very short to me. Like, if I hug V, it's like a boob hug. So I'm like,
yeah, it is.
V is like, she's very short. And I'm like, Nicole Kidman is not short. Nicole Kidman is tall and statuesque. Like, that is not her. She's like, no, she was very short. And you know what? I think she might have been black. I'm like, where did you get Nicole Kidman?
What?
Where is it? Kevin Hart? Like, is this a dude?
Stop.
And she's like, no, wait, hold on. I know who it is. What's their name? They're in that movie. And I'm like, I need more information than what you're giving me.
Short, possibly black, and in that movie.
Short, possibly black, but I think it's Nicole Kidman. And she's like, she's in that movie with Nicolas Cage, and he rides a motorcycle and he goes on fire. And I'm like, Eva Mendes?
Also not black.
She's like,
tall.
that's it. That's the one. I'm like, oh my God, not so far from Nicole Kidman. Gorgeous, beautiful, Latina, tiny, not Nicole Kidman.
Is she short?
Yeah, she's tiny. She's very little. Eva Mendes is very petite.
Oh, I thought she was tall.
No, so V, I'm trying to like, I'm like, no, V, no, that's not.
Do you folks want to hear? So AJ, you were telling the story about how you were in the restaurant. Do you want to hear a funny story about my restaurant?
Yes.
My father, bless his heart, tried. So I've been obsessed with Ariel as a kid. I was in a ballet recital when I was 6 or 7, and that just sparked it off. Hence my massive side piece. So as a child, I didn't understand that flounder was a type of fish, right? Flounder was Ariel's friend, Ariel's best friend. We go to this diner in Philly. Of course, I probably ordered chicken tenders or some shit. Ask me what my dad orders.
Flounder.
Fried flounder. I lose my fucking mind in this restaurant. Again, I'm 5 or 6 and I'm totally oblivious. My dad's like, oh, I'll take the fried flounder. And I turn to him and I'm like, you killed Ariel's best friend. I was shrieking. And he's like, I'll take the steak, I guess. But even
literally anything else on the menu.
looking back on it, because we were at the diner because he picked me up from ballet practice where I was practicing for a Little Mermaid recital. And I was like, what the actual fuck were you thinking? He's like, I wanted flounder. I'm like, that's probably my Little Mermaid t-shirt. So that was a time I lost my mind in a restaurant. Still, I'm okay.
Sorry.
I'm okay. Therapy has heard about this. Well, you guys have anything else?
No,
I'm starving. I'm ready to eat dinner.
Yeah, I'm about to go get dinner too. Well, if you have that's gonna be out their merch. I survived episode 1.
Yeah. I'm writing it down. Write it down.
Put it on your vision board.
I'm writing it down. Okay.
And all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
Yes. So if you survived through episode 1, we cannot thank you enough. We know the audio is so bad. We really hope that this time is better because I'm getting up there. I'm getting closer to 40 and my knees are feeling sitting Indian or cross-legged
It
style.
is hot in my closet.
Yeah, it is. These are so hot. So thank you.
How do you spell lousy?
L-A-U-S.
No.
Nope.
O-U.
That's what I said.
I thought you said A.
Oh, you know what? I'll wing it. Phonetic.
It's
I'll wing it.
Lousy.
And on the t-shirt, it will be spelled wrong. Lousy.
And we'll cross it out and we'll put the correct spelling just like bourbon. It'll be fine.
Lousy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Real quick. One more quick story. So I'm the computer person in the group. So I'm the one that set up the Facebook and the IG. AJ's doing the Twitter. I'm the one that did the Patreon and the Yahoo. So when I set up and Sunny is here. Thank you.
Sunny is here.
So when the Facebook and the Instagram went live, I sent my lovely lady friends the link or I was like, hey, Bourbon Wine and True Crime on Facebook and Instagram. And AJ's like, I can't find it. Did you publish it? Is it private? Are you sure it's live? And after 2 days of this, 2 days, I'm like, AJ, love, you are so smart. And you're so smart. How do you spell bourbon? She goes,
sweet pea.
I don't want to say.
Bourbin. And I'm like, love. And she's like, it's bourbon. I was like, I'm so glad
you're in a bin.
Bourbon.
It's delicious.
Bourbon. It's phonetic.
So I'm really
B-R-R-R-B-I-N.
Bourbon. So so luckily AJ was not in charge of social media because you guys would not be able to find us.
Not at all.
Oh my god.
But all of our merch will be misspelled.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
guaranteed.
Bourbon crossed out asterisk bourbon.
Lousy. No idea how to spell it.
What is on
assassin? Assassin. 3 S's, 2 S's, 1 S. Who knows? There's no way to know.
Nobody knows. Look, language is a man-made construct.
It is.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, look at Prince. He had a fucking symbol as his name. It's all fucking phonetic, okay?
No, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put a $sign and we're gonna be like, pronounced Bourbon Wine and True Crime.
That's it. That's all it is.
On that note, please donate to us on Patreon, even if you don't want to be a monthly supporter. Just donate anything to buy Sunny something other than the Maker's Mark that she's drinking or whatever it is.
What? It's not bad. It's
buy AJ a dictionary.
It's AJ's dictionary funds.
Buy Randi some more tattoos.
Yeah. Woo.
And some protein.
We love you guys.
Love you.
Love you guys.
Please watch us on Facebook so you don't think I'm some kind of like behemoth. I'm not. Oh, yes. And we're also on YouTube, Bourbon Wine and True Crime. Love you guys. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I think that was really good.
Yay!
We sound so much better.
Stop recording.
We're excited.
Oh yeah, are
Okay.
you stopping it?
Yeah.